What's that, Brad? What? What did you say?
I'll ask Amelia.
I feel like this is longer than normal.
That's Dan, by the way.
Is it?
Yeah.
It's giving White Lotus.
Yeah, that's
right, totally
my
is.
That's true. Yeah,
side hustle.
Yeah.
Which intro did you like better? Be honest.
Oh, were those different?
Yeah.
Those were two. That one was a little long. I liked the first one. It was fun. It was
Me
upbeat,
too.
and
I
then
think
this
so.
one was good.
It's the OG.
You know.
The second one makes me feel weird. I don't know what it is. It's just a little uneasy.
First time when we played this, Dan liked it, but
Yeah.
now it looks like
Oh,
okay.
wow.
So we have to
His
change
voice in
it.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah. And also too, I'm really sad that Brad's not blessing you with his intro.
I know. What the heck?
Yeah, he must not like you.
Yeah.
Should we redo?
He usually goes,
I don't.
all right.
You can watch previous episode.
Yeah. there you
Yeah,
go.
so we are back. The closing crew is back after a long hiatus of 2 minutes.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
It's been
Yeah.
so long.
Yeah.
Forgot what you guys look like.
Same clothes.
Yeah.
So we are, I always forget to like even tell people who we are. We are Bay Area real estate agents. So
It may not
just to
seem
give-
like it.
Yeah, it may not seem like it, but this is after hours, so it's
Yeah,
all good.
yeah.
We are joined by Amelia.
Hi.
Yes.
Welcome.
Special guest
Welcome.
Amelia. Amelia. And we have a very special prompt today. Are you guys ready?
Yes.
Why do men have nipples? Go.
You know, beats me.
Oh my. No, actually, but seriously, why do men have nipples? We don't need them.
Maybe
If
they'll
anything, it
evolve
should just be
out at
like,
some point.
flat, right? For like,
Well,
air-
is it on early
aerodynamic.
stage when baby develops that
Yeah, where
it's-
you don't know which
you don't know if
direction.
it's
Yeah.
which gender is it, so it
Mhm.
has to be something like.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
that sounds right. Did Diana ask you that question this morning?
no.
But Athena asked me that. She did.
Yeah.
She's like, Papa, why you have?
It's like, do you have milk in those? I just remember like when I gained a lot of weight after Dylan was born. Like I knew I gained enough weight when he like started grabbing for my chest, and I was like, "Get your hand off of that! That's not food. That's my body. Why do I have nipples?" But anyways, all right. I'm just joking. So
For pleasure.
Yeah.
That's,
know-
that's the only reason.
for you, maybe I hate my nipples. Like like people like yeah. Anyways, if somebody like touches my nipple, I'm like, "Get your hand off my nipple. That's mine. I don't like that." You know. So
No
Oh,
comment.
Yeah, you should
man.
visit more massage, please.
yeah. No.
Yeah,
No.
I'll-
Let's comment more. Let's make Brad more uncomfortable. Brad, how do you like it when people
Yeah,
play
how do
with
you
your
feel about
nipples?
It always goes there. With Dan.
Oh, wait.
You just gotta get used to Dan.
Can't take me anywhere nice. All right. So
I never
today's
thought I'd have a job where I'm talking about nipple play with my boss.
yeah. Essentially, yeah. This is where we've come to in 2025.
Where Dan
Love
has
it.
come to in 2020.
See, I'm the villain on the show. They like to use me as a scapegoat, but
Brad's like, we're never talking about this.
yeah, no. The thing is, though, I'm the megaphone to their souls. Because whatever they're
100%.
thinking, I say it out loud.
There you
But
go.
they're cowards. They don't say it.
We don't want
Sorry.
to get canceled. That's all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Dan's always trying to look to get canceled.
Yeah, they let fear rule their lives. I'm a brave, free soul. I've elevated. My third eye is open. All right.
Nice.
So, since we're all in real estate, right? Today's prompt is: if you could go back in time, like right before your real estate career,
Mhm.
like what would you tell yourself? I ended that without a period.
Very abruptly.
That was
What would
Long
you tell
pause.
yourself? But yeah, like what would you tell yourself? You know, like so, Amelia, you've had
Yeah.
2 careers essentially in
I
real
have
estate.
had 2 careers.
Yep.
Yes.
So let's focus on your second path. So right now you are an agent, full-time agent.
Yes.
So if you could go back in time,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now that you've seen 2025, and where we're at in the market,
Yeah.
what would you tell yourself back then to
Well,
ensure?
I mean, I feel like in a way, I am kind of lucky because I, in a way, was able to go back in time and tell myself before starting the journey. You know what I mean? It's
That's
like I already
true.
kind of had a little bit of insight into
Oh,
what
yeah.
it would look like.
Mhm.
And I think my biggest takeaway when I made the decision to get back into it, I knew that it was going to be a lot of work. I knew that it was going to be running a business and it wasn't just clocking into a 9-to-5 job. It's like every day I still feel like I'm a brand new agent, even though I've been licensed for 10 years. This is really my first time as a traditional real estate agent. So I'm kind of learning everything from scratch a little bit. And I think just, reminding myself daily that it takes time, it takes work, don't get discouraged. I would say the biggest thing though that has been helpful and that I still need to probably implement a little bit more is don't be afraid to get out of your comfort zone and kind of push your own limitations. I remember like first, I know you want to focus on my second career, but I remember like first getting into real estate and people always being like, you should go knock doors. Mm-hmm. And I grew up with a dad who knocked doors for a living, selling Kirby vacuum cleaners. Shout out Kirby. My whole dad's side of the family that lives in America, they've all pretty much worked for Kirby vacuum cleaners. And we're really successful. Yeah, my uncles owned a franchise for a year. My cousin owned a franchise for years. And, my dad worked there forever and are all super successful in their lives. And that's where they got their start. But I remember as a kid, my dad would knock doors all day. Yeah. My cousin for his current business still knocks doors all day. And
where?
All over the Bay Area.
The Bay still?
Yeah.
Whoa.
And my dad, growing up, he was all over San Jose, Palo Alto, like all over. And it's funny too, I don't think I realized how big his area was because I'll talk about places and he's like, oh yeah, I remember back in like the early 90s being in this random neighborhood in Oakland. And I'm like, what were you doing in Oakland? And he's like, Kirby, gotta sell, we would go everywhere. Yeah. And
he's a hustler.
He is a hustler. And it really, but he was also, it's an exhausting job. And just hearing stories now, just like crazy stories that people have from door knocking days. But I remember getting into real estate and being like, I am never doing that. I will never knock a door. And then starting at Elevate Group, that was one thing. I think I talked to you guys about that a while ago. I was like, you know what? I'm going to try it. I want to at least try it once. And I went out a couple times and it's rough, but it's not as terrible as I was expecting it to be.
You still do it?
I haven't. I actually I was thinking about it recently and I kind of do want to get back to it. It's just, motivating to get out the door and actually knock. That's one thing my dad always says too. He's like, the hardest door to knock, or the hardest door to open is your car door. Something like that. It's like something like that where it's like, you just got to get out your door and do it. And then once you're on the roll, it's pretty easy. I feel like most people these days don't answer their door because they all have Ring cameras.
Totally. Yeah.
But yeah, so, I have been thinking about getting back into it and being a little bit more routine with it, but.
Good for you for going out there and doing it though.
Thanks. Yeah.
Which area you did?
In Willow Glen. I live in Willow Glen right now with my parents. Yeah. So yeah, it's a great area. So I just kind of did my little neighborhood. I haven't done like a broad,
are you on the street where you have to decorate every Halloween and every Christmas?
I'm actually very, very close. Well, so there's a couple different areas in that. There's like the area over by like Willow that does like the giant reindeers on the lawn, and they're like known for like people go and like walk through the neighborhood and all of that. I'm not over there, but over where I am, I'm closer to Willow Glen Middle School and High School, right off of Kurtner and. Cottle and Westgate, they will, like for Halloween, they close down their streets. And I know Cottle is a little bit more like crazy about it. But they like full on, like they have like tallies of how many trick-or-treaters come to their door. And I think they have like a street-wide competition to see like who had the most people, who had the best decorations. And then Christmas time is always really beautiful.
Yeah, but those are the craziest decorations ever. I remember when Athena was like 3 or 4.
Yeah.
It's like I was always taking her there and like just drive around because like it's insane. Yeah.
It's so fun.
Yeah, Willow Glen's great.
And I remember like one house was not doing it. Probably all the neighbors like,
get the fuck off of our street.
Sell your home tomorrow.
So much pressure.
What's their address? Maybe I'll go door knock. See if they need to sell.
Exactly. On Halloween, would you like to sell?
Could you imagine like with pitchforks? Get the hell off our street. Call that Halloween. Get that trash out of here. That's funny.
Yeah.
Right on.
But yeah.
Dan has a lot of experience with door knocking early in your career.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you actually gave me some advice when I started door knocking.
Yeah. I mean, like, so, man, I don't know how to, because the thing is, I'm kind of torn. To be honest, to be very blunt, like, I don't like it.
Yeah.
Because, I hate people coming to my door. And I always like my kind of like whatever the way that I do business is I always try to like think about how I would like to be communicated with. And door knocking I just don't like.
Yeah.
That being said, you know, when I first started, I joined a team that, you know, I was like the guy for that. And when I started it, I just thought, okay, I don't like it. So how can I do it in a way where I can still hold on to my principles and do it in a way that I feel good about? And I was like, okay, well, I just have to add as much value as possible, right?
Yeah.
So I would never just go and use like the, you know, KW scripts or whatever, Tom Ferry scripts or whatever. They gave me a lot of scripts. To be honest, I didn't really use those. I just would try to figure out, okay, if I was this homeowner, like what would I tolerate at least?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I would try to come up with like stats and then, you know, things like that, and then just have them in my back pocket so that if I did take up somebody's time, I could at least give value. And that was a way where I could wrap my head around it, and that's how I did it. But it's funny how you said, like, you know, your dad was saying like the hardest doors to open is your car door. I remember the first few times that I did it because it's so not in my comfort zone. Like I would be sitting in my car, I couldn't get out for like hours.
Yeah.
Like because I would have this map, you know,
Yeah.
and then, you know, me, like, I'm like, okay, if I'm going to do anything, I'm going to 10X this crap. Right. So I had a lot of homes to get to that day, but I would literally sit in my car. And like, I remember once I opened the door to throw up.
Oh my gosh.
Like it was like a weird,
Yeah.
I would just be sweating, just anxiety,
Yeah.
you know, because like the previous day, some guy slammed his door on my face so hard that he broke his door.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, I didn't do that. I gotta go. And then I just like left, and he was like, fuck you. Like it was crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because they made me go after like foreclosures.
So
So,
so-
not foreclosures,
yeah.
but yeah.
So he did that just because you knocked on his door?
Yeah, so I knocked on his door. He opened it.
Yeah.
And then I remember I was just like, oh, hey, I just want to let you know that, you know, we have an open house or something like that. And, you know, I just want to invite everybody in the neighborhood, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I know why you're here. It's because I tried to sell my house and it didn't go very well. And I know you guys have that because I get calls every day.
Wow.
And he was like, that. And he like slammed his door super
Like
hard.
Wow.
Yeah. And like
Okay.
the whole thing just shifted. Like the
Yeah.
casing kind of like moved. And I was like, oh. And then he like opened it back up. He's like, ah.
Oh man, did you run?
I was just like, hey, that wasn't
Yeah.
me, man. Like, dude, have a good day. And
Yeah.
he was just like cussing. He's like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. I was like, I gotta go.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's his issue too. Like he's probably like not,
But-
not in like, I don't know, some kind of like his personal problems.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that
That's-
being said, like I totally understand where he comes from. You know what I mean? So like I didn't. It's never been like, oh, screw these people. It's always just been like, God, why am I doing this? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think some people are okay with it. If you're okay with it, right, and you feel good about it, then I think that's fine. But
I
if
also
you,
think-
yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, you're good.
Oh, I think your approach is great because I
thanks.
think it makes a big difference if you live in the neighborhood,
Right.
right? You're kind of
Absolutely.
an insider as
Yeah.
opposed to somebody coming out from a different neighborhood,
Yeah.
you know. And
Right.
so
For sure.
that angle, I think successful people that do door knocking tend to be the neighborhood specialists.
For
you
sure.
know,
Yeah.
so.
Well,
That,
and
yeah.
Willow Glen too. There's so many agents in Willow Glen,
Yeah.
and we get so many flyers
Right.
on our door. And everyone that I've talked to is like, "Yeah, Willow Glen agents are kind of lazy. They just send out mailers all the time, but no one's. I mean, I can't. I'm even talking to my parents. I'm living with them right now, and they're like, I can't remember the last time a realtor knocked on our door.
Right.
And I feel like as a kid, I remember like occasionally getting like the local realtor being like, "Hey, you know, I'm the realtor in the neighborhood, blah, blah, blah." But now they're like, no one does that anymore. Everyone just sends out mailers. So I feel like it's kind of getting into that market too, with it being so oversaturated, you know, and truthfully, it's like, I love Willow Glen. I grew up there. So, and I love the homes there. But I'm also not like super tied to that market. Like if I end up doing business elsewhere, like not a big deal. But it's where I live, and so I'd like to be lazy and, you know, be 5 minutes from my listing or from my buyers or whatever. And so trying to get into that market too, it's like if I can offer some sort of little value to the neighborhood above everybody else that's already successful in that neighborhood, then why not door knock, you know? Make the in-person introduction and be there.
Absolutely.
And I think, like, you know, I don't want it to come off like I'm like demonizing door knocking, right? Like it's just not for me.
Yeah,
right?
It's tough.
And with anything, I think that like it's not about like, oh, door knocking doesn't work or cold calling doesn't work or flyers don't work. It's not like an entire like, oh, it just doesn't work. Mm-hmm. I think the question more is like just how do you do those specific things well in a way where you're offering value?
Yeah.
And it's just so many variables, right? Like your personality.
Yeah.
Like, you know, even how you look, right? Like how you present yourself, how you like whatever connects, right? And like so for instance, like like I don't know, like if you knock on a sword swallower's house, right? You're gonna be like, boom, I'm in there, right? It just depends, you know. So
well, I'll probably know him.
Yeah, exactly.
What are you doing here?
It's like, I remember this.
Well, and I think with anything too, it's just being consistent, whether you're doing mailers or door knocking or social media. A lot of it's like, it's easy to say, oh, that doesn't work, but it's staying with it and being consistent. And that I think is the hardest thing. And that, I mean, this has honestly inspired me to do some door knocking and being more consistent with it this year. Cause it's, you know, that was my thing when I started it. I had this plan to go like every month with like a market update on the neighborhood and be like, hey, you know, here's the market update for the month. Perfect. And then I did like 2 months and then summer hit and it was so hot. And I'm like, I'm not going to go walk around my neighborhood in 105-degree weather. Like, no. So I kind of just dropped off on it. And so of course, you know, I can say, oh, door knocking didn't work for me, but I didn't really give it the effort it deserved. Yeah. So I think with anything, it's just kind of staying consistent and knowing that eventually it'll, you know. Yeah. But
was it any success in those 2 months you did? No.
Well, you know what? I did.
Any leads like or anything?
I did meet a couple people. I had one guy who was I think was home from college, and we ended up emailing a little bit about buying, because he was like, you know, I'm not ready now, but like maybe in a couple of years, like I would love to buy, maybe not in San Jose, but like somewhere in nearby. And I ended up emailing him back and forth a little bit, and he had asked like, you know, what is there to do in San Jose for like a 20-something-year-old, you know? And so kind of getting the opportunity to chat with him a little bit was kind of a, you know, foot in the door, but you know, I haven't talked to him since, but it's still kind of, I know where he lives, you know, I know where his family lives, you know, and I remember his name. And, you know, there's another neighbor down my street where it's like, you know, we chit chatted and now, you know, see him walking the dog. Oh, hey, how's it going? So it is little things like that. I think that eventually will pan out, you know? Yeah. And, you know, one thing I'm grateful for too, it's like having, my dad he's such a salesman, and not in like a skeezy way. I love my dad. He's such a people person, and he's been in sales forever. And I've learned so much from him over the years and watching him and my uncles. And my dad's just the guy that's like, he'll strike up a conversation with everybody in the neighborhood, and we'll walk our dogs together. And he's like, oh yeah, like that's so-and-so. Remember back when they used to own this? But you know, it's like, he knows like all this information, and he's not shy about just like saying, hey, and he's just one of those people that people want to naturally strike up a conversation with. He's a connector. He is a connector. Yeah. And I've always been really envious of that, because I feel like I'm somebody where it's like, I say hi to the neighbor and they're like, off, you know? Like, well, you have his DNA. I do, you know, yeah. And I think also getting older too, you kind of just start, people respect you more when you're older. And well, I mean, you still look super young to me. So thank you. But you know, it's like you have less shame the older you get too, and you have more confidence. And I think it's easier to, you know, if somebody doesn't want to say hi, it's like, whatever, that's their problem, not mine, you know? Right. So, there's something going on with her mic, right? Wait, is it? Yeah. Cutting out. Can you hear me? Should I pull it closer? Try again. That's good. Okay. Yeah. Cool. Awesome. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Right on. Anton. Yeah. What about you, man? What I would do? Yeah. What would you, like, now that you've gone through it, right? I mean, in general, I mean, in my life, I changed 3 countries. Wow. Yeah. Where I lived.
You love change.
Yeah, I love changes. Yeah, I think it's maybe because of that, because of my childhood. There were so many changes that I like changes.
Yeah.
So, but I would say maybe like get like a personal information of people and like keep track of it, especially like in real estate. I think it's like very important. Or like back in the days, like I don't know, you get the phone number or like the address, and I don't even know where it is right now.
Yep.
But I would say it would be so helpful, like like when I start in real estate, that I have this database from all my friends and families and people I know, that I can like send the flyers on, or like like stay in contact with them.
Yep.
Like I think that would be a good start. And nowadays I would say build like a strong social media presence, because I think this is nowadays this probably overtake all the door knockings and all the flyers. I mean, I did flyers for like 1.5 years or something.
Yeah.
I only got one email. Please take me off from your mailing list.
Please stop sending me these. That's funny. That was a small sample too. That was like at Perry, right? Like around Perry.
Yeah, kind of around Perry, like this neighborhood. Yeah, like not maybe like 800 homes. Yeah, it was, but it was like I think like the people knew me. To be honest, like I went to the gas station. He's like, "Oh, you this real estate guy?" I'm like, "Yeah."
Good.
He's like, "Oh yeah, we know you. Like we see you car driving all the time." So they kind of know me, and
That's
then
awesome.
Yeah.
and then they even started following me like on Instagram, and they're like,
good.
"Oh, my son love your pictures and your videos. Like
Dude,
very nice."
It
I mean,
works.
yeah, it did work, but like I mean, it was like no real deal.
Yeah, but you
from
just
that.
keep going. Because as your face
Consistency.
spreads, right? Yeah, like the one thing that I would say is like, when you door knock, right, or you send flyers, right, you're not sending it to that person to sell their house. The likelihood of that, probability wise, is very low. Like I would say, like you're going for the influence so that their friends, right, when they want to move closer to them or whatever, then they'll be like, hey, actually, I know a guy, Anton. He's got a cool samurai sword, and he lives on top of Perry Lane. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that you're doing really good.
Yeah, you have a really good social media presence.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're so good at that
But
stuff.
I would say even bigger. Like
Yeah.
that would be like definitely successful, because nowadays if you look at all those successful like a super like real estate guys, like they all have like a very strong social media presence, where that's how they get leads now automatically.
Yeah. Dude,
Especially,
you could do it.
especially when you start as new agent. I think is like super important.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Because like I think like I don't know 20-15 years ago it was a different story, like but I think nowadays if you get into it right now, I think that's the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so time consuming though too. Social media, it seems like something, it's so easy, just pop up a video, but it's hard to plan.
It's a full-time thing.
It is in the beginning,
Yeah.
but I would say like once you develop like a muscle memory, it starts like easier and easier,
naturally.
because but in the beginning everything is difficult,
Yeah.
because you don't know what to do, you don't know like how to edit, you don't know
Right.
what to say, like
Right.
how to do the cuts and everything.
Yeah.
It's all like anything. I think when I started something in my life new, I had to overcome this, I don't know, struggle, like but the more you do that, it gets like automated.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
it was
And if you buy cool shit like Anton, that helps
Makes
a
it
lot
more
too.
fun.
And also too, like it's not like you have to do, like Brad hires people, and that's smart too. Leveraging whatever you have, right?
Yeah.
So there's so many different ways to approach it, but yeah, I mean, you have just like a skill. You can't really like learn. I mean, you can learn it, but you have this inherent vision for like aesthetics and stuff, and like how like even your videos on YouTube. I'm like, dude, this is like Peter McKinnon kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so you should leverage that. You're good at that. You know what I mean? So yeah.
What about you, Dan?
Dude, I learned nothing. in the 5 years that I've done this, I've learned absolutely nothing about real estate.
Wow.
So I was thinking about this, right? And I think that if I could go back to young Dan, right before real estate, I would say like, don't just work hard for the sake of working hard. Because I think like the first few years, I was working really hard, but I didn't accomplish anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so for instance, like the door knocking and stuff, right? I went into real estate, I think with a good heart, in the sense that like, okay, I'm just going to blow this shit out of the water, right?
Yeah.
Like whatever, like the top guys are doing, this is going to be easy. I'm going to smoke this bitch. Like I'm going to take whatever they're doing and I'm just literally going to 10X it. And it's like, I don't need to sleep. I don't need to eat. Like, you know what I mean? I was just being super crazy about it. So I remember like, this was terrible, but like, you know, when I first started, they made me cold call, and I hate cold calling. I've never done it, right? And, you know, I think like, so this on my second day, so essentially they said, hey, you know, eventually we're going to have you cold call. You're good with people, so I think you'd be really good at it. And I'm like, oh man, I really don't want to. He's like, yeah, but this is the way. Because, you know, they had the booklets and all that stuff. And I was like, all right, if you say this is what it's going to take to succeed, then that doesn't take into consideration how I feel about it. So whatever needs to be done, I will do it. And also I'm going to do it 1 billion times 1 billion. So they're like, yeah, so, you know, we're going to have you do a couple calls a day. And then by week 3, we're going to put you on the Mojo dialer, which is like an automated dialing thing where you're calling like 2 lines at a time. And it goes to 3 lines. And so it's ringing 3 lines.
Holy cow.
Yeah. And if one picks up, then you talk to them. If while you're talking to them, the other picks up, it has like this audio clip of like, oh, I'm sorry, I can't really hear you. Let me call you right back. So then right after you're done with that first call, it calls that second one. So essentially you're constantly just, there's no downtime.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, I hate that.
It's intense. Yeah. So, but you know, I tried to go in being like, and this was my mistake because I have like kind of how I want to build. Well, now I know like how I want to build my business and all these things. But at the time I'm like, well, if the successful people are telling me this is what it takes, then who am I? Right. So I was like, I'm just going to do it. So then on my second day, I was like, hey, just put me on that triple dialer. They're like, wait, what? And I was like, yeah, just do it. And because I was like, I could pitter patter up to it and eventually in 3-4 weeks, maybe do it. But I was like, but if I do it right now and just jump in and just crash and burn, today's probably going to be devastating for me, to be honest. But let's just do it. And I pretty much forced them to like, just make me do it. And it was so overwhelming.
Yeah.
Like my first hour, I think I lasted an hour.
I was going to say, how long were you on these calls? Like how long in total for the day?
Yeah. So the first day I did an hour. That's all I could handle. And then I was just like wiped out. Like literally like the blood was gone from my face. I was like feeling ill. It was bad. And just hands were sweating. You know what I mean? It was just terrible. And then it gave me a lot of anxiety. And then after that, it was like 4 hours. And then eventually it got longer and longer, you know, and I just turned into a beast and I was just doing these things.
How many people actually like, did you have genuine conversations with? Like, were most of them just hanging up on you or being rude? Like,
yeah, most of it was pretty terrible.
Yeah.
And which I don't blame them.
Yeah.
You know, in retrospect, I wouldn't have done it. Right. But that's what I kind of mean by like, I thought I was doing the right thing because I was working hard. So because I was working hard, I think mentally I was just like, because I'm working hard, then good things will happen. I was just tying those two. I was tying the pain and suffering to, okay, this is what it must feel like to pay the price for success. And then in retrospect, like that's what essentially caused my first mental breakdown.
Yeah.
Because like I was fighting traffic. So like I had a newborn on the way. I had, I was driving from San Jose to Burlingame during traffic. So I would get there super early and I would stay super late. And then I have this anxiety of leaving a cushy, you know, corporate job with like great pay, great coverage, right? To no pay, like no guarantees for anything. I'm like this job was way harder, you know? Like I'd been in high pressure situations in my previous job, like a lot on the line, but it was just in terms of the suffering, this had nothing against that, right? And then, yeah, there were a few times where like I would get into the office and every day I would just like psych myself up and I'd go into the bathroom and I would throw up. Or I'd be gagging. It was just weird. And I'd never done that before. I'd never like felt that much anxiety. but I did that for like 6 months.
Wow.
And then I could tell like my team too was watching me. Like I could tell they felt bad because I think they were trying to figure stuff out too. And I don't blame them because their mentors and systems were teaching them, hey, this is how you build a team or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So they were just doing that. And I was just the idiot that was just like, okay, let's do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was really bad. It was really bad.
Do you feel like though, because I'm very big on like finding gratitude in everything. Like it could be the worst situation that you've been through, but like there's always going to be something to be grateful for to come out of it. Do you feel like, you know, with your anxiety and like just going through that whole process, like now in your business, doing things that scare you, are you kind of like, well, I could do that. Like this isn't that bad now, you know, like, do you feel like it helped a little bit with the fear and being able to do things that scare you a little bit more?
Yeah. Like, I think I want to tell you like, yeah, it was a great lesson. And I think for a while I was telling myself that, but if I'm being dead honest,
No,
I've always had that.
Yeah.
Like anything, like if something scared me, like if you look at all my hobbies too, like rock climbing, the reason why I got super into rock climbing is because I was super scared of heights. And one day I went to like the pier in San Francisco and I stood on the edge and I like fell over and my legs just wouldn't work. And I was like, what is this? Like, dude, I can't have that in my life.
Yeah.
So then I started rock climbing a week later and then I got super into that.
Yeah.
Same with like, I don't know how PC this is, but like guns,
Yeah.
right? So in another life, I was also in a police academy when I was very young.
Okay.
And I was scared of guns.
Yeah.
I was like, I never really grew up with guns. I was scared of guns. I was like, man, I want to be good at this job. I got to be like really good with guns, at least be really comfortable with them. So then, you know, I had a cop friend take me to the gun range and then I was like, okay, cool. This isn't that scary. And I would force myself, you know?
Yeah.
So, I've always had that where it's like, if something's scary or something's uncomfortable, then I have this urge to be like, okay, well, that must be the thing that I should do. And then, that's where I would, you know, so actually the lesson is kind of backwards. I would go back in time and be like, just because it's scary or uncomfortable doesn't mean you're on the right path.
Right.
Right. So I'd be like, look, you got to build your business your own way, you know? Don't just do the hard thing mindlessly. Cause I think in general, we do that sometimes,
Totally.
right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So like even in the gym, right? I don't work out anymore, but you know, when you go, okay, I'm not going to be a bitch and I'm just going to go for it. And then you go to Snap City, you snap your back in half and you know what I mean? And you're dead, right? So, you know, I think you have to be really mindful of where you place that energy. And it was hard because when I first started, I just didn't know where to place it. I just got some direction. I was like, all right, I'm going to 10X it. But I think it kind of hurt me mentally, to be honest, because I was in a dark place for a year or two. Yeah.
But good for you, because you got perseverance. You got some resiliency in
Dude,
you.
I already had that though. You know what I mean? Like, dang it, you know?
Don't you
like,
think you become a stronger man?
Probably. I mean, you know, I probably built character or whatever,
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
But it was pretty rough though. Like, it was pretty rough.
I
Like,
mean, that sounds like something that I would do and then be like, I can't be in this business anymore. You know, I would
had that.
immediately quit.
Yeah.
But when they ask you to do that, so like, was there any success stories from that team who did this cold calling and then they succeed with that, or they were just testing this on you?
Right. So it was a test. And I don't want to speak ill of them because honestly, like they're actually really great people. But they were building something new and they were just taking direction, like kind of like what you were saying, like that kind of stuff might work in the Midwest in the 90s. Right. But in the Bay Area in the 2020s or 2017 or whatever, right? Like that, it wasn't going to go. That being said, I called 2.5 full zip codes. So if you think about possibly 3 zip codes where I've dialed every single number in that zip code. I was a terrorist. I was a phone terrorist. It's terrible. And like the guilt that I think that's why I was like throwing up too. Like I felt like a little bit of guilt, like every time, because I'm like, dude, I'm calling them like on their personal phone and taking up their time at my will. So I think like, you know, one call is like a little bit of guilt, right? But then you call 2.5 zip codes and you're like, who have I become? I felt like Bane in Batman, dude. I was just like, this city will bend to my will. Like, just calling everybody. I'm going to call you. I'm going to call you. I'm going to call you. I'm going to sell your house.
Did you
I was
get
a villain.
clients from it?
So I set up a few interviews. Yeah.
Okay.
I got a few meetings. Yeah.
Do you know if that team still does that? The robocalls?
No, I don't think so. Yeah. I think like they saw me go through it.
Doing that.
Yeah. And like, I try to be a good sport about it and everything, but I'm sure they could see it in my face. And I know they saw me throwing up and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, I was just an idiot. I bet the people in that office are just like, dude, who the hell was that guy? He came in here, threw up all over the place, and left. But at the time too, I didn't have a license.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So then when I got my license, they were like, okay, you've graduated. We're gonna stop this because it doesn't work.
Right.
And I was like, oh, thank God. Right. And
That's
like,
amazing though that this was pre-license and you still continued to get it after that.
yeah, I was just like, like whatever it takes. Because I burned the bridges. So I respect how you were able to transition like an intelligent human being. But for me, I read too much of that like rah bullshit, like the like just the you gotta grind all day, those kind of guys too much. And they got in my head. So it was just too much, right?
Yeah.
But they're like, oh, congratulations, you've graduated. We're stopping this. This doesn't work. So you're going to move on to your next thing. This is really going to be great. You're going to start door knocking. And I door knocked all of Foster City.
Oh my goodness.
But I actually, I didn't mind that as much because, it was annoying to most people, but, they didn't have to answer. Right. And then the ones that did, there are a lot of like older people in Foster City.
Yeah.
So spent a lot of time drinking tea and talking to them,
Yeah.
And I feel like I at least brought some value to those people.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's how I'm justifying it, but that sucked too.
Yeah.
I think you just have to do it your way, right? If it, like, my issue was that obviously I didn't like it down to my core, and I ignored that because I wanted to work hard.
Yeah.
Right. So I definitely would not do that again.
Yeah.
It's just like, because then you're just lying to yourself and that's no way to live.
Yeah.
And eventually it's just not sustainable. So anyways,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. Brad, what about you, man? You have the most experience and you have a lot of success now, but think back to, think back to when things were really hard. Right.
Yeah.
And then, with that in mind, during the darkest times, what would you tell your former self?
I think there's two things. Professionally, I think it would have been having a good mentor to work under. Because when I first started off, I was like this young hotshot, thinking I was a young hotshot kid coming out, from the tech world, taking on the real estate world, and thinking I could just do 10 times better than like the big dogs, right?
Yeah.
And I think I mentioned this on a previous podcast. When you're first starting off in real estate, it's really hard because people look at you and they see that you're a young man or woman, and they're like, why would I trust this kid that with the biggest purchase or the biggest transaction of my life, right? So having that mentor, I think would have kind of sped up my career a bit, and definitely, especially during the Great Recession when it was just a bloodbath out there, right?
Yeah. You're talking about 07, 08?
Yeah. That was those were the hard years for sure,
But then the following years were the greatest years, right?
Yeah, things took off after that. But I mean, there was a good 4
During
years
this time,
where where it was really tough for just everything, not just real estate, but lending industry, just the economy around here, especially, so
the pocket knife swallowing industry was booming though. During that time.
I'm sure it was. Right?
Good time to be on the Ren Fair circuit.
But yeah, having that mentor, I probably wouldn't have done the cold calls or the door knocking though. That's
because you're smart.
No,
that's why.
So have you ever done it? Have you ever done like a door knocking?
I did do door knocking. Actually, when I first started real estate, did it with a colleague of mine in the Coldwell Banker office. We did it in a townhome community in Cupertino, the North Ridge or something like that.
What year was this?
This was 05. 05, yeah.
I feel like that like still would have been kind of valid during that time.
Yeah. There wasn't Ring cameras around back then. Right? Two, it just wasn't as prevalent in a community like Cupertino. Probably still isn't. I don't think Cupertino, there's many door knockers there, right?
I don't think door knocking in general is popular right now.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Yeah.
But yeah, similar to what you guys experienced, the hardest thing for me was getting out of my car.
Yeah.
You
Dude,
know,
it's
so
so terrible.
terrifying.
Yeah.
But I did it. I probably door knocked probably like 20 homes, not that many that day. And then that was the last time I ever did it.
Yeah. Wow.
I didn't have like a terrible experience, but I had a couple people, that slammed the door on my face. And I was just thinking like, why am I doing this? Like, it's not a targeted approach to marketing. It's just it's a shot in the dark.
Right. With no value proposition.
Yeah. And I'm an outsider. I don't live in their community. So what, and I had data points that I was going to talk about. They had a script that Coldwell Banker gave you, but it was a script that I think Timothy Alston gave Coldwell Banker agents.
Yes.
But yeah, if I had a mentor, I feel like I would definitely have grown a lot faster professionally.
Yeah.
And then looking back then too, like I thought to myself, like, why are people even buying homes right now? Because, the market's tanking and stuff like that.
Right.
But looking back, I'm like, oh man, I should have bought.
Yeah. That is a tale as true as time, right?
Yeah, just
should have bought.
Yeah. You think about the lending standards back then too. You just, you didn't need like all the documentation you need. And that's part of the reason why we got in so much trouble, right? With the mortgage meltdown.
Yeah.
But man, just buying homes back then is so easy compared to buying them now.
Yeah.
And like if any of us would have just bought homes, so like one home a year back then, like, oh man, we'd be living it up right now. So hindsight's 50-50.
Yeah.
What is it?
2020.
2020.
Yeah.
Yeah. If hindsight was 50-50, that would suck. That makes you not a very effective human being.
Yeah.
Actually, I changed my answer. If I went back in time, I'd be like, Dan, I know you're just going to think I'm some kind of future nerd of yourself, right? Like, if you just listen to one thing, brother, buy as much NVIDIA stock as you can. just buy all of it, dude. Like, don't worry about anything else. Just buy that. I don't care how you do it. Just buy it. All right. I'll see you later. Wait, why am I ghost in this? I guess.
And homes too.
Yeah.
At least you can collect the rent with the homes.
Yeah.
NVIDIA, you would have to wait for 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah. Cool.
Good.
All right. You guys have anything else to add?
No.
So door knocking, yes or no?
In general? No.
You know what?
But I actually did
but
in
it's
Los
out there.
Gatos too.
Yeah.
I remember it was like Montessorino area.
Oh yeah.
And then
Did it
also
work
was like
out?
open house. I mean,
Dude, your legs are probably so fat afterwards, just like full of muscle.
Yeah.
yeah, there was like hills and everything. But I mean, it was fun. I think like I got into contact with one family who were doing a new build,
Oh, cool.
but also like some like horrible experiences too. Like one like super nice home, like Victorian style, like like smells rich. You just look at this and it's like it's like
Smells like caviar.
so like humongous door. So you knock at the door and then there's a man, like looks like a military guy or something, or like a buff
Oh
man.
man.
And
Like
then
Bezos.
and then he's
Security.
like kind of open up the door a little bit, and there was like two humongous dogs sitting behind him.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, oh, like just have open house, like
With
and-
Rebecca.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then he's taking the flyer and he's getting out of the house, and I'm just telling, swing by, like take a look, like, and I just want to invite you to the open house, and he's like taking it. He's like, okay, thank you. And then he slowly walks to the garbage can. He opens the garbage can, throw the flyers in. I'm like, all right, have a nice day.
Oh my god.
So dramatic.
How
You should have
rude.
stood there and just stared at
I
him.
know,
Yeah.
but like those dogs, I mean, that was like right off the movie. I'm telling
Yeah.
you, it was pretty crazy.
You should have handed him another flyer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like, I see you've misplaced yours.
And then you put it back in the recycle bin, and you just keep handing it.
We had this stapler on his.
Yeah. Stapled to the door.
Or just
Cover
like,
his trash can
just like
with
give him
it.
one and then kick his trash can over and then run away.
And he released the dogs.
I'd be like, oh, thanks for your time. I'll see you at the open house, bitch. See you later.
Good stuff. Good stuff, man.
I will say one thing with door knocking and just cold calling and all of that I've learned with age is that a lot of times people have bad days and will be so rude for no reason. It has nothing to do with you. So don't let it affect you. You know, it's like if you go out and door knock and someone's rude and throws your flyer away in your face, whatever. That's not, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
It's like, that's their issue, not yours.
Yeah,
Just
of
keep
course.
pushing.
And I'm
that's-
personality. I'm really hard to affect with anything.
Yeah. But that's
See, I'm
such
the
a
opposite.
Yeah.
For me, like I tell myself, like, oh yeah, that's not me.
Yeah.
But it's still just like I'm just.
It
Like,
affects you.
yeah.
Well,
I'm just
I mean,
like,
I do get the feelings of it, but it's
Yeah.
not gonna change.
Yeah.
I don't know who I am, or like like.
Yeah, no, it completely alters my reality. It destroys my psyche.
No, it's a good reminder. That's something that, you know, working with Jen, talking about having a good mentor. I love working with Jen Beeler, and she always
Shout out Jen Beeler.
Shout out Jen Beeler, Beeler Real Estate Team. She always tells me, you know, you really have to have a tough skin to be in real
Oh, yeah,
estate, and
absolutely.
that's something
That
that,
is
I have
true.
to remind myself weekly. You know, it's not you, it's them. Just, you know, you're just doing your job. So,
Yeah.
and it's helpful just having that reminder.
You're
Yeah.
in sales and you're a business owner.
Yes.
So you
Yeah.
definitely have to have
Yeah.
really thick skin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. All right. Well,
Cool.
thank you all for sharing your deepest, darkest secrets. But I think that was great, and I can't wait for the next one.
Yeah,
Let's do
thanks
it.
for having me.
Peace out,
guys.
everybody. Yeah, thanks for coming, Amelia.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you for coming, Amelia.
I know, right? You're about to-